And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to Thank Furlough It's Friday. This is actually episode 96 of ICB TV. Not all of those Fridays, of course, but nonetheless, we've been here in your homes and offices and cars or wherever else you're watching this 96 times. And I am ably abetted yet again today by Jacquie, award-winning Mount. Hi, Jacquie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be with you again.
And we keep getting compliments about Jacquie and what she's doing and what you think of everything that she's doing for you. So that's absolutely great. She's got a raft of things to talk to you about today, including a couple of presentations. Before we get into the business of that, however, can I just mention one thing that's just cropped up today? Now, most of you who attended Summit will already have had an email, but you might not yet have opened it. But the presentation we had from the Metropolitan Police on cybersecurity is unfortunately going to have to be taken down. Now, this is something to do with, I don't know, secrecy rules, something or other. They're very concerned that if there are any changes, that their old information will be still up there. So I think you've got till the end of this evening if you want to have a quick look at that. However, because of the popularity of everything cybersecurity amongst you, the members, what we are doing is talking to them about coming on with a regular program, if you like, or a regular part of what we do, because it is quite important. And there are a lot of so-called experts out there talking about cybersecurity. And in my experience, most of them are about as expert as everything else they were 3 weeks ago before cybersecurity became the big thing. So they've been dealing with solar roof panels and GDPR and various other things. And lo and behold, they've now emerged as GDPR. But we're going straight to the Metropolitan Police, so it has to be right. But anyway, it's only right till the end of tonight for this one. So please have a quick look at that. If you miss it, we will be doing something very shortly. I don't have a time or a date on it yet, but you know, it's another Garry Carter. This will happen shortly. Now, one thing I just want you to have a quick look at, if I can get Sobi, who's our anchor for the day, and yet again, Sobi was one of the people who really pulled conference all together for us. So she made Summit the Summit that it was for thousands of you. We put together a short, very sharp video, which we're going to be putting out on social media just to say, I suppose, clap ourselves on the back a little bit, really, but say that ICB was here. So whenever you're ready.
Apologies. Bear with me a second. It's coming.
It doesn't happen on the BBC.
Is that working at all? Can you see it?
It's there.
There we go. Okay.
Great. We have also proved that we're not perhaps quite as good at technology as we could be. I don't think that worked for me. I'm not sure if it worked for everybody else quite, but by the time that gets sorted, don't worry. Thank you, Sobi. Yeah, that was a last minute decision. We've only just had that this morning, and we've shown it to Team ICB, and everybody there seems absolutely full of it. Very pleased with it. So that will be going out on social media and various other places very shortly, just to say that, as it said there, we are actually more connected than ever. So the COVID, we have a lot to be sorry about, but we also have to be thankful that it gave us an opportunity to connect with so many more of you. So thank you all for joining Summit, for doing that. So, Jacquie, presentations, please.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start with a fun item this afternoon. I'm sure you're all aware of this, and forgive me if I'm teaching you something or telling you something that you've obviously known for years. I was going through, because I happened to have a spare hour and I didn't have too much to do, and I was going through sorting out all the documents on my computer, because if you're like me, I am a bookkeeper at heart, and I hate things that are muddled and untidy. Everything has to be in its right place. And I have this long line of documents that I've had over the years that I've always managed to do, meant to do something with. And I was going through them, deleting some and moving some, and I came up with a little spreadsheet called VAT Number Checker. So I thought, I wonder what that is. And I opened it up and I realized it was a little tiny spreadsheet calculation that I found somewhere years ago. And it goes back to the time when we were writing the old computerized bookkeeping exams, which are now morphed into A3, for those of you who are aware of the current exam system. And back in the day, before HMRC had I believe, a tool on their website where you could check someone's VAT number. We just used to make VAT numbers up, 9 digits, just pull them out the air. And we had a contact from a student who said, in my software, this VAT number will not be accepted because it's failing the VAT check. And I thought, I wasn't aware that there was a VAT check, and apparently there is. And I found this and I just thought I will put it up for you. So let me just share my screen. And this is the little spreadsheet that I found. Now, this is very clever, and I'm sure most of you are aware of it, but it was interesting. If you have a VAT number, which is 9 digits long, so you just type the VAT number into a spreadsheet, and then underneath it, you actually put in the numbers 8765432 and leave the 2 M ones as a 0. Then what you do is you multiply vertically. So the 9 times the 8 is 72, and then you add them all along, and hey presto, in this instance you end up with a value of 204. Now if you then subtract successive figures of 97, I have no idea why this works, so 204 minus 97, take off 97 again, and you keep doing this until you end up with your 2 numbers at the end of the VAT number, and they can be plus or minus. And if you never end up with those 2 numbers, then the VAT number is not a valid VAT number. Now, I was never aware of that. I'd forgotten it existed completely, but I just thought it was a little fun thing to pass on to you that I had found. And as I say, I'm sure everybody is already aware of that. So that's my fun intro for today. Now, let's have a look at what's been going on in...
What a sad life you lead.
Sorry?
I said, what a sad life you lead. That you.
I know, it makes me a very sad person, doesn't it? But that was, we were doing it. Well, we couldn't work out years ago why I think it was one of the software packages that would not accept the VAT number in one of our mock exams. And so we did some research and came up with that. I just happened to find it on my computer. So I thought, well, it might interest you. It's a bit light-hearted. It's about the only light-hearted thing I've got for you this afternoon, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Right. So let's have a look at what's come out this week then. I'll talk about the announcement from the Chancellor in a few minutes, but let's just have a look at what's going on at the moment. So some information came out yesterday from HMRC about some updates on what's happening at the moment. So the first one is SEISS 3, and they've confirmed the requirements and the eligibility for the third SEISS claim. So again, exactly the same as they were on the first couple. Must be self-employed or member of a partnership. They must have traded in the tax years 18 to 19 and 19 to 20. If you remember also, they had to have submitted the self-assessment for 18-19. Now that's still there. The 19-20 does not have to have been submitted yet. It's the 18-19, but you have to continue, have continued to trade. And you're either got to be currently trading, but are impacted by reduced business activity, or have been previously trading and are temporarily closed because of coronavirus. So again, nothing more. The difference this time is that you have to declare that you intend to continue trading, or you're going to restart trading when you can, and that you reasonably believe that the impact on their business will cause a significant reduction in their trading profits. Now, I mentioned this when SEISS 3 was first announced. There is a difference between this and the first two grants. In the first two grants, you could claim if your expenses had gone up. This time, you cannot do that. It is purely that your income has been impacted. So it says there that, sorry, that says that there. And you must obviously show exactly your records as to why. Now, we're not sure yet what sort of evidence you're going to have to prove. I was talking to someone about this earlier on today, and they were saying, well, because the income from November to January has to have been reduced to enable you to apply for the grant. Obviously, you don't yet know what the situation is. You can apply up to the end of January. They said, how are they going to know at the end of the year that it's this particular quarter that's been impacted if my income is down across the whole year? Now, it could be that at some stage they'll come back and ask for proof of monthly income comparing with this year with last year. So we don't yet know what evidence they're going to look at. But I will reiterate what I said last week, is that HMRC are now carrying out quite a lot of investigations. As I said, we have a number of members who are going through this, are having to prove their figures. And so therefore they are being a lot stricter this time. So the portal will open on the 30th of November for applications, and you have until the 29th of January to actually apply for that grant. And it is, as before, it's 80% of the average of your net profits over the last 2 years, last 3 years, or however long you've been trading, up to March 2019. So that's the information that came out yesterday on SEISS 3. Nothing more than we suspected on you a couple of weeks ago, but it is a little bit more specific on the contents now. So that's SEISS 3. So a couple of other bits of news. I mentioned this before. Annual investment allowance limited is currently £1 million. That was due to drop this December to £200,000, but it's been extended for another year. So any of us that are lucky enough to have invested £1 million in capital equipment can claim that against their AIA, assuming it's a relevant capital allowance up until December 2021. Now, this is an interesting one. Christmas parties tax allowance. Now, a couple of weeks ago, somebody put up on our question that they'd heard that the virtual parties were not taxable. Now, for those of you who are aware and do a bit of self-assessment, that companies can claim up to £150 per employee per year for staff entertainment. Now, that can be a single party, or it can be split over 2 parties. The maximum you can claim is £150. And the standard rules have always applied. It must be available to all staff. The £150 is across the whole year. Now, yesterday it was, or this week, it was confirmed that that is now available for online and virtual Christmas parties. So if you're having a get-together online, you can still claim the allowance. If you are paying some allowance to your staff or whatever, then probably not £150 per employee for a Christmas party, because that would be quite a nice amount of bottles of bubbly or something, but the claim can be there, and it is now tax deductible, which is being confirmed. So that's a new one. So that's good. A reminder that capital gains tax on the sale of relevant properties must now be declared online and paid within 30 days of completion of the sale of the property. Now, the capital gains tax is due at 2 levels, and well, actually there's 4 levels. 2 are for property, and it's a different percentage depending on whether your income is in the basic tax or the higher tax bracket. Now, at the time you're actually selling a property, if this is a property, any profits that you've made which are taxable are quite likely to take you into the 40% tax bracket, but they may not, because it may only be something like £15,000. It's above the, I can't remember the allowance, it's 11,500 this year, I think. it's above the allowance, you're going to pay some tax on it, but you don't know whether you're going to pay tax at the lower rate or the higher rate. Now, it has to be estimated, it has to be paid within 30 days of completion, and at the end of the year, when you do the self-assessment tax return, if there are any adjustments, they can be paid at a later stage once you know what your total income is. So watch out for that one if you've got clients who are selling second properties that aren't primary residence, which are subject to capital gains tax. Other capital gains tax can be claimed on the self-assessment return as normal. It is purely the sale of property that you have to pay within 30 days. Now, a reminder that we have 35 days to the end of the Brexit transaction period, which happens on the 1st of January 2021, and we are going to come back to that at some stage. So those are the other bits of news I've picked up over the last few days. And I listened to the Chancellor's spending review statement, and most of it was not really to do with bookkeepers per se. It was more what the government's going to do, support businesses and everything. But there are a couple of figures that came out of that. Probably the biggest one for us is the national living wage is going up from £8.79 to £8.91 an hour. Now, that's not a huge increase, but what he's done is at the moment, the age limit for the national living wage is 25. That is now being reduced to 23. I assume this is going to be from the 1st of April, but it doesn't state the date. So it may possibly come in before, but if not, it will be the 1st of April. So for those aged 23, their income per hour will go from £8.20 up to £8.79 an hour from whenever that increase comes in. The standard personal allowance hasn't changed for 2 years. It's been at £12,500. It's been announced that's going up by 0.5% for 2021, which will take us up to £13,125 personal allowance. And the NIC thresholds are going to be increased by the same percentage amount. So it's going up by 0.5%. I didn't put the figures up there. So that's what's going to affect us directly as bookkeepers on the spending review. Now, I have a straw poll question for you. Remember last week, I put up an ethical problem with our directors who decided to move to Spain for 4 months and to ask your advice on what you would do in the situation. Now, I have another one for you. Now, this came in from Desi this week. We've had a couple of conversations about this. We decided we'd put this up to see what your views are, because we've both searched through all of the HMRC details and we actually can't find the answers to this. So I'd be very interested in your comments. Now, this is your scenario. 2 employees of a business have been working since the end of the first lockdown. So they've been working, but they are not working now because they've both now been confirmed as having COVID. So they cannot work while they were sick. And we do not know how long they'll be off for, because one of them is quite poorly, so is going to be off for a fairly lengthy period of time, we think. Now, this is our dilemma. Can they be furloughed, or should only statutory sick pay be paid? Now, the reason we're asking for your thoughts on this is because HMRC does not specify what happens in this particular instance. The only notification that I can find is that if they are already on furlough and test positive, the employer can then decide whether to keep them on furlough or whether to say, no, you have to go onto SSP because you can't work because you're sick. We cannot find anything that states that somebody can be put on furlough if they test positive for COVID. The only other thing I can find is that furlough is not intended for anyone on a short-term sickness period, such as the requirement to isolate after a test and trace. So I'm just thought I'd be very interested in your thoughts on that one. I haven't had an answer yet back from HMRC at all on this. I have sent an email off, but I haven't heard back. So that's our straw poll for today, if anybody wants to drop in on that one. So that is my stop sharing, stop share, pull share, stop share. So
Hello again.
Hello again, those are my notes. So questions coming in already. I have to say, I love hearing from you all, but your questions are getting so complicated. I've had some real humdingers from you this week on the technical helpline. Oh, Jane's come back on my test. Susanna says, I've never seen that. No, neither had I till I found it. Jane says, this is the check digit in the same way that bank sort codes and account numbers are checked for validity. No, I thought that might get a bit of feedback, that one. Julia is saying, good afternoon. Could you confirm that for furlough claims between the 5th of November 30th, you can only claim the maximum £2,500 pro rata, and do we have to claim for the 1st of December next month? The claim has to be from the 1st of November to the 30th of November. The 1st of December goes into next month. Pro rata, yes, because it's based on your average income that you've worked out. So the 2,500 obviously is the maximum you can claim. So if you have someone that's over, I think it works out something, if their wage is something like 3,125 or something, the maximum you can claim 80% is 2,500. Anything over that, they won't get. Julia, I hope that answers your questions.
Jane says, do you think it matters if 50% trading income in 1919, 1920? I don't think she means that. 2019
is below all other income. That's to do with the SEISS grant, that you have to have 50% of your income from trading. Your income from trading has to be 50% of your total income. Yes, it's exactly the same eligibility as before. And it was based on the average of the 3 years up to 1819. So I don't think 1920 is included. I think it's still based on 1819. But of course, HMRC will have your figures. And this is something that you don't tell them what you want to apply for. It's not like the CJRS grants. They will tell you the maximum you can have. It's whether or not you apply for it. If you apply, HMRC will tell you what your grant is going to be, because they have this all pre-worked out.
Susanna Williams got an interesting one. I have a personal trainer client who's obviously not been able to do much, if any, work during the second lockdown. His clients prepay a block of sessions, which is typically how personal trainers work, and he received several prepayments at the start of November, but has not been able to redeem these sessions. This will therefore have a delayed adverse effect on his income in future months. I am assuming that as long as his records and the accounts that I produce show that these are prepayments for sessions yet to be redeemed, and this will be reflected in income received in future months, that this will still be okay for him to claim the third SEISS. He fits all eligibility criteria. In all likelihood, it will be December, January's income that will be down whilst the clients redeem the prepaid sessions. So I don't think it will be an issue, but just wanted reassurance. There was something about television recently, and they were saying that they should actually refund and then claim as if against the income as it comes through. But I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, there are two ways of looking at this. Back at the start of this, back in February, I had it was a Christmas present actually, that my daughter and I treated ourselves to a spa day, and we put the deposit down, but we decided middle to late February, because this was heading our way drastically, that we would not actually take it up. And I contacted the hotel concerned, and they said, well, we could give you a refund, or we can hold it in credit for you. Now, actually, they held it in credit for me for 6 months, and they have now refunded it, because there's no way we're going to be doing that for the next however long. Certainly treat it, I think you can treat it as a prepayment, because it's a deposit, and tuck it in the balance sheet rather than the profit and loss account for now. The trouble is,
the problem is that they're going to redeem that in future months, and therefore the income, it won't show as income in those months, will it? Or can you accrue it, move it forward?
You can accrue it and transfer it into the month. So, but the thing is, if he's going to offer those sessions in December or January, that's actually within the 3 months of the current grant. So whenever you have that, I think you've got to look at when the deposits were paid and the effect on the accounts. And I think we're going to have to start looking at this stage at how the accounts are progressing for the year. Look at your profit and loss account, look at how your profits are going, Don't forget that the COVID grants that you've got are treated as income, but you're looking at this 3 months. And I hate to use the term creative accounting, but I think you're going to have to look at where and when you actually declare those. They will obviously go in there in this year, but I think you're going to have to be quite careful to look at what the income's going to be. I had another question from someone who said they'd actually invoiced somebody over the last couple of months because they're still working for one of our members who's working for someone who's still working, but actually they can't afford to pay the member. That's not the issue, they're not being paid. But of course her cash income is down, even though her invoicing is correct. Now, at the end of the day, she can report her self-assessment on the cash basis because she's self-employed, not a limited company. But at the moment, her profits are looking good because she's still doing the work, but her cash income is down. So that particular individual will probably do a cash-based set of accounts for this year. Hope that gives you an answer, Susanna.
I think creative thinking rather than creative accounting might be a better way.
Yes, I think that, yes. I did just trying to think of a better term for it.
Yeah.
Right, let's just get rid of the ones that we've answered so we know where we are.
Bradley,
my straw poll.
Mm.
Alison said, surely they can't be on furlough as the work is still there. No, but they are unable to work. And I certainly vulnerable people who are extremely vulnerable can be furloughed even if the work is there for them. It's something that you have to decide between you. Right, so lots of, oh, you're really coming back with some comments here. Judith says, I think I'd furlough. And Emma says, isn't furlough the employer saying insufficient work, whereas a positive test result is the employee saying they can't work, so it's SSP. We're going to get some split answers here. I'll come back with my thoughts in a moment.
There's an interesting one from Anonymous here. Hi, if an employee was partway through their notice period for redundancy when the CJRS extension was announced, and they were then put on furlough at the end of that notice period instead by a temporary variation of their existing contract, does that mean that the original notice was effectively withdrawn? I.e., if the employer was to subsequently make them redundant, then they would still be entitled to their notice period.
I have to say, I can't answer that because I don't deal with redundancies. It's an HR issue. And I think if you have a question like that, you need to possibly maybe even speak to the Quest technical team.
Yeah.
And ask to speak to their HR people, because that's something I can't answer because I don't know enough about HR and redundancies. The bookkeeping, I'm just about keeping track of at the moment.
Yeah, and I know we've had a lot of questions on this, and one of the things they've been saying is, well, was it a redundancy because of COVID?
Yeah.
Or was it a redundancy that was happening anyway, and then you just felt sorry for them and gave them some money because they couldn't get another job? And there are all sorts of moral issues in this as well.
Absolutely.
There are a lot more moral issues than technical ones, I find, in this. But can holiday pay paid as a lump sum on redundancy be included in the furlough reclaim? Or is it only holiday pay for time actually taken off that can be included in the claim? My client has made his employee redundant in November. Had to make his employment.
Yeah.
Last payslip includes 5 days holiday that she took whilst on furlough, plus her remaining accrued holiday.
Yeah, it's a question of whether accrued holiday when you leave is, now actually, this is one of my ongoing technical queries at the moment. I'm still trying to find the answer to this one as well. Somebody who's been made redundant, serving the redundancy period, is being paid a holiday that they have taken, but some holiday, but also accrued holiday, which they are due. Should that be furloughed? I'm still trying to come up with an answer to that one. So again, if anyone's got suggestions on that, yeah, feel free to dive in.
Oh, big one from Susanna there. What have we got above that? Hold on, let's see what else we've done.
Oh, I've got one from Audrey on our answer to our furlough. If your employee becomes sick while furloughed employees retain their statutory rights, including their rights to SSP. This means that furloughed employees who become ill must be paid at least SSP. Yes, they must be. That's absolutely right, Audrey. But if they are already on furlough when they become sick, They must be paid at least SSP, but the employer can decide to keep them furloughed and pay the furlough and claim the furlough back. And they're obviously going to get more money out of that than they will if they're put on SSP, because they'll be on 80% of their salary rather than 90 something pound a week. So HMRC guidance is quite clear that if they are already furloughed, then they can stay on furlough or be put on SSP. This particular question is someone who is working and is sick, can they then be furloughed rather than being put on SSP? Yeah. So she goes on.
Comes on to say isn't furlough the employer saying insufficient work, whereas a positive test result is the employee saying they can't work.
Yeah.
So therefore it is SSP.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be at least be paid SSP. That is without a doubt, and the company can claim back 2 weeks of that SSP. The question is, could they be furloughed? And that's the one that neither of us can find a definite answer to. But I think I know which way your thoughts are going. Paul is here. Paul Ingram. Hi, Paul. My son went on furlough from the start, but found out to be hospitalised soon after. Fortunately for him, his employer continued furlough until 31st of October. He continues treatment and will now have to be off for the next 12 months. Oh, that's sad, Paul. Sorry about that. Yeah. And now, so now on SSP. Okay. Again, this is something where the individual was furloughed from the start and then became sick, which we know. And the employer has furloughed right up to now, but is saying, we have to put you on SSP. Now, one of the reasons for that, I think, is because of long-term sick. To keep them on furlough, of course, they're having to pay the employer's national insurance and pension contributions for someone who is on long-term sick. So by putting them on statutory sick pay, that's going to bring them down below the threshold for NICs probably, and they can get the first couple of weeks back. So yeah, I can understand the employer's decision on that one. And Susanna's
comes up with a piece of guidance she's read. The guidance published by HM Revenue and Customs on the coronavirus job retention scheme states that while the scheme is not intended for short-term absences from work due to sickness, employers can furlough employees who are off sick if they have business reasons for doing so. That's another nice grey area, isn't it? What is a business reason? But,
again, you see, the business reasons there are because, I would think, because the company is unable to work due to shutdown. But if the company is able to work and is not in lockdown, where do we go? But that's closer, actually. I remember seeing that one. That's closer, because it does say they can be for business reasons. So to keep the business going, because they don't have any other staff. Well, that sounds to me as though, yes, have a look at furlough. Susanna said, I would say that CJRS was set up to support employers and employees genuinely adversely affected by coronavirus, whether in terms of work or actual sickness, that it would be acceptable. If it's genuine, I think ethically speaking, it's not an issue, as HMRC have confirmed you can furlough people who are shielding. So I think this is coming round to your thoughts are probably yes, they can be furloughed.
But if somebody's shielding, that's not SSP.
No,
that's
shielding can be either, because you can furlough people who are shielding, and I think you can put them on SSP, but I think most employers would genuinely put them onto furlough.
Furlough, because it will give them more, won't it? And it's not there.
Yeah. And of course, the SSP is only going to be claimable back for 2 weeks. So if they're on longer term sick than that, they won't be able to claim the SSP back. And it may very well be that the SSP that they're paying would be more than they would end up possibly paying the national insurance and pension contributions on the 80% salary. Swings and roundabouts here.
I think as we move out of this session, the next session, whatever session of COVID we are in or going into, There will be a lot more questions asked about how much work we can do as bookkeepers, whether or not we can go to clients. Should you demand a test from your client, a COVID-free test from a client? What do you get to prove? All that. We're already starting to get a few questions. It's a little bit ahead of the game at the moment, but certainly we are talking to a number of different agencies to see if we can get somebody on to give us some advice. And when the vaccination is available, I know a lot of people will choose not to have it by the sound of things because they're very concerned that this was rushed through. And therefore, how do you treat people who've said they don't want to have the vaccination when you have it yourself and all this sort of stuff? So the decisions have been tough for the last, 10 months. I can't see them getting much easier. Actually.
They're not getting easier, Gary. If anything, they're getting slightly more complicated. There's just one quick question here. Someone says, where can I find details of the Quest technical helpline, please? You have to go through the ICB telephone line. So if you ring ICB, ask to be put through to Quest because you've got an HR problem to do with redundancies, and they will transfer your call through. You can't actually call them directly. You have to go through our telephone helplines.
Because if you do that, you don't pay for it. If you go to them direct, I think they're £55 an hour or something, or other, and a minimum of 15 minutes. But anyway, so yeah,
which is a very good reason for ringing them through our phone number.
Exactly. And some of you do ring them on, I'm sure you know a lot of them by first name terms by the look of it. But anyway, it's all part of the service.
And Pauline's come back and said, one of my clients has an employee who is off on long-term sick, having had an operation, and they have furloughed her. The business reason being that she cannot work. Definitely a grey area. And yeah, so thank you for that. So I think the consensus is it's a grey area, but it looks as though you can actually furlough. So thank you for that. Okay.
Pauline Chapman says, one of my clients has an employee who is off on long-term sick, having had an operation, and they've furloughed her. The business reason being that she cannot work. Definitely agree. Yes, there. Thank you very much. Free initial consultation sounds great. Free initial consult. Right. Okay, that will be on the Quest side of things. Yeah. Mention what it is that you want to talk about, because it isn't always Quest. I mean, quite often it's a Jacquie. If it's a technical thing, and we also have money laundering, and we have legal advice, and we have all sorts of things which come as part of your fee. So just whoever you speak to, try and explain as much as you can as to what it is you want, and try to make it as obvious as you can, because somebody on the other end of the line has got to try and figure out who is the best person for you to be put through to. And the quicker that we can decide who is the best person to speak to for each individual call, the better it is, and we get also, you in quickly.
When I put somebody through this morning, and when we dial the Quest for you, as soon as the answer they click in, we put the phone down. So you miss the first couple of words of that, but basically what it says is welcome to the ICB technical helpline. And then I think they go through a number of options. So one is to do with legal, one is to do with payroll, one is to do with bookkeeping and accounts. And I think there might even be another one for HR or something. So you do at least get some options there. And basically what's happening, if it's a bookkeeping style query, then come through and ask for me first. If I can't deal with it, and I have to say there are some that I can't deal with, then ask to I will put you through to Quest or get you to dial in again. I have to say I had one this morning on corporation tax. Please, if your query is a corporation tax query, I would try Quest first, because I'm very generalist with corporation tax, and some of the questions you're sending me now that you've done your new financial statements and your corporation tax exams are quite complicated.
And when you get put through to Quest, if you're faced with a list of options, obviously you press the options. Sometimes you will be asked for your details, and then somebody will ring you back. They do actually ring back very quickly, but sometimes, as you know, these things work, we've got 20 or 30 of you on the line at one time, and we just don't have that many solicitors there. So, you know, it's it's our line. We've got various ways of getting this sorted. So it will be better if you don't ask for Quest, if you ask for what it is you want to talk about, and then we'll make sure we put you through, because actually we've got several different telephone numbers that we will transfer you through to. And actually, as also as part of the service, we pay the transfer between, so it doesn't matter where they are in the country, you're just paying to talk to us. But anyway, so it's a good service. It gets well used, and we overused possibly by some of you. If we think that you're having a lot of these calls and we give you a call, it's not because we're trying to say you shouldn't be using it. It's just in case there's a problem that we might be able to help with on a broader basis. But if you're getting up to 20 or 30 calls on this, then that's why we're ringing. So please don't get shirty with whoever asks you the question. It is purely for your benefit, not for ours.
And I have to say, on the occasions that I've spoken to them and other people have spoken to them, they've had some excellent answers. But I will say, occasionally they won't cover. If it's a bookkeeping query or something like that, they will ask you to ring back to ICB. So depending on your query, ask to speak to me if it's anything to do with COVID or bookkeeping or anything like that. If it's corporation tax or a legal situation or an HR situation, then you're much better asking the member staff that you speak to of ours to put you through to Quest. Okay.
All right. Are we about done, Jackie? I think.
I think we've dealt with all the questions and the comments today. I think that's all. Looks like the questions are drying up now, so that's good. As I say, there's not been much new come out this week.
Okay, so next week, Jackie, we've got an extra couple of days of Jackie.
Yes, as if you're not.
It looks like Tuesday, Wednesday at the moment, but we will tell everybody about it. You're going to be talking about this other thing that's been put to one side recently, Brexit.
Yes, we're going to be looking at the end of the Brexit EU transition period, because there's quite a lot of people who are involved in this. So we're running 2 sessions because there is a lot of information to get out. There is an article going up. There will be information going up on the website for you to access. I'm going to try and précis it all down. But basically, I'm going to be running 2 sessions. The first one is going to be looking at importation. So we're looking at things to do with customs, what you need to do to register if you've got clients who are trading and bringing goods into the country. And then the second one is going to be looking at exports. So the first one's basically dealing with import tax and VAT and what happens and the changes. And the other one is going to be dealing with exports. So the changes, for example, to EU business to business and business to consumer, B2B, B2C, and the changes on what's going to happen to your invoicing and your VAT. And then we will have stuff up on the website. Hopefully, I'm talking to Amy at the moment about how we're actually going to get that up there. Lots of links going out. So there's a lot of information around at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, Monday is Monday with Mike again. So Tuesday with Jackie, Wednesday with Jackie. I think we may well have a break on Thursday. We'll be back again on Friday. Is that your last Friday, Jackie?
No, I've got one more. I think I'm here till the 11th, so I've got one more 11th. to do.
Okay. So, and then we will break for the Christmas holiday period and then be back early in the new year. And who knows what the new year is going to bring for us. But anyway, we will work with that. So thank you all very much for coming on again today. Don't forget, I said earlier on, can you please have a look at the cyber security element of conference and summit if you haven't yet managed to see that, because that is going to have to be taken down today. Metropolitan Police have said it will become dated and they want to remove it. We will be replacing it with something. We're in negotiations with them at the moment, so we don't exactly know what. But obviously it was very, very popular. I know it's a subject a lot of you are very concerned about, as everybody nowadays, certainly our bookkeepers are working in the cloud and what information is going and where is it going. And there was somebody else got caught this week, wasn't there? Who was it? Oh, Manchester United of all people. Somebody took over Manchester United recently. So, it can happen. Hopefully our bookkeepers don't get involved with that, but just so that we are careful, so that we know what we're doing, we'll try and get some more information up there. Well, we will get some information up there. We'll just try and make it as quickly as possible. Jacquie, thank you again.
Stobie's just put up that with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday, next Friday is your 100th episode, Garry.
All right. Brilliant. Well, next year we've got to beat that then, haven't we? We've already got a lot planned. We've got a lot planned for next year, and we're going to be doing a lot more, building a lot more into these programs. Plans are great things, but none of us knew what was going to happen earlier this year, I have to say.
This is true.
Yeah. So
I still remember the Sunday afternoon, Garry, you rang me and said you wanted to do this online Zoom meeting about COVID, and would I come on and help you? The rest, as they say, is history.
It's history, yeah. But as the film said, we're more connected than ever. So we're here for as long as somebody is ringing up and asking for us, or somebody is listening in. And at the moment, you're still there in your several hundreds. In fact, a couple of programs still are going over 1,000. So it's great. It's good to connect with everybody. So everybody have a good weekend. Be very careful. I hope you're going to spend time trying to figure out what it all means, because I think we're all going into level 2, are we, or something or other now?
Oh no, those of us that are in Kent are in level 3.
You're in level 3.
I'm in level 3.
Okay.
What I want to know is why, when I live in an area as far away from London in Kent as you can get, and we're all geriatrics and nobody goes anywhere or does anything, we're in level 3, all of us, because we're apparently, where I live now, I think we're number 3 or 4 worst in the country at the moment. So
all right,
we'll see. Yeah.
Well, as geriatrics, we've got to be careful, Jacquie.
I know.
Apparently nobody can give us a hug this Christmas.
I know. Can't hug a granny. I want to know what happens to the granddads.
Yeah. Oh, granddads are fine. We're all right. We're dispensable.
Granddads are fine. Just can't hug a granny. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Look after yourselves. See you on. Well, Mike will see you on Monday. See you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.